Welcome everybody, thank you for joining me tonight. We'll just do a quick sound check into the room and we'll get underway. So, we've got a bit to get through tonight, but it probably won't be for the full hour, but we'll just see how we go. So the first thing I want to do is basically take you through, it's going to mainly be Forex tonight. I'm going to be talking about mainly the Forex, and I'm going to be showing you some stuff on the new momentum trader. We had a look at the bounce strategy last week. We're going to have a look at the momentum strategy this week. We're going to talk about the bridge between Tradestation and MT4, and we're going to go through what's running hot. And I'm also going to show you a couple of interesting things as far as the systems as well, and we'll kind of doing a little bit more work on the Forex on Wednesday. So this week is primarily Forex, but we'll spend 10 or 15 minutes going through the future stuff, and then we'll get stuck into it. So thank you for joining me, everybody. If you are busy and haven't had a chance to catch up over the last week or two, these sessions are always good just to pop in and just keep in the loop as far as the program and what's happening, because there's obviously there's a fair bit going on. So if you can jump into these sessions, they are recorded now, so now we're back into the Omnovi room, which makes it a lot easier for us to record sessions. So you'll see last Wednesday session was up there. We'll be doing these twice a week, so my goal is to have them running twice a week so I can give you kind of a list of what's really working well, because while at the end of the day it's up to you to manage your systems, it's also helpful if one of us from GMT is in the room showing you what's really running well, what's not running well. That way you've got a really good run in it with your system. So let's go through that now. Let's go through the top 10 future systems, and what I want to cover off on tonight as well is a couple of weeks ago I showed you the DAX cycle trader. Now, I showed you the DAX system that had not been calibrated. It was just a raw system, and just looking at it, I'm going to show you a little bit of work that's been done on it. Now, Giovanni's done a bit of work on that based on the raw system, and it's looking really, really good. And these stats are basically just on just a little bit of work or he's done a bit of work on that, so we'll show you that too. So let's have a look at the future systems. Now they're ranked here. SN means system number, obviously. For those of you who are in the program, you'll know that, but those of you who aren't, if you're wondering what SN means, it's system number 3. It just allows us to basically keep track of all these systems, because otherwise it would be a nightmare to try and work out which systems are what and settings and everything. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking you through the systems, but I'm also going to keep a running tab also of the settings for each of these systems, so what days of the week based on the server. So I'll just flick over here now and I'll show you what we've got set up. We've actually set up a what we call a GMT server, and I mentioned it a while ago. So for those of you who are doing the dedicated server, we've got a dedicated server set up, and what the purpose for the dedicated server is to track every single system that we run. So basically every single system that is running that has a system number is loaded onto this server and is being tracked. So for example, if you have a system that potentially you're trading, or you're in simulation, or you're watching, or you're doing your test on, or you're live trading that has an error on it, say for example you spot something that you need for us to have a look at, all you need to do is basically send an email to GMTfutures@gmail.com, and we will, now there's a protocol in the Kajabi website for doing that. It's on the dashboard. Basically if you send us your workspace, the chart marked up, a description of what happened, and obviously your trade log, then we can basically load it up into our server here, and we've got like error workspaces, and we can investigate and give you a response back on that. So if you send it to that Gmail address that's in the members area, under the members alert section as well, Mike will go through, have a look at it, and then send you a response back as to what's happened. So there's a couple of messages we've had there from Friday and Thursday that we're kind of dealing with now. Now, on this server, we're going to be running Tradestation multi-charts, IB, MT4, the MT4 bridge. So pretty much we'll be tracking everything that's going on as far as the systems. So that will allow us to then, if you've got a question on a system or you're not sure, at least they're all tracked in one location, and we can quickly jump in and find out what's going on with that, or if you need, some information. But the great thing about it too is that if you've got something that you want to load up for us to monitor as well, then you can send it to me and I can load that up on the main server. So that's a little bit about the main server. So we'll go back to basically the top 10 here, and right. So this will load up here in a second. So basically what we've got is now crude oil has I've got two SNO3s. What I've got is on your crude chart, if you're trading crude oil, you'll see that crude oil has what's called in the trend trader, it has a trend trader, TP, and then it'll have new TP. So basically on about the third line of your trend trading strategy in the strategy box, you'll see that it has under the TP, it has what we call new TP, and that new TP is basically a coding fix. However, what we found was that the old TP was actually working really good. But what I'm doing now is just with crude, particularly because I know some people are trading the old trailing stop, some people are trading the new trailing stop. So you'll know if you're trading the old or the new because you'll basically have it either turned on or off, true or false. So just to show you that how these two are going and the difference, there's really not much. Well, there is a bit between them actually. There's almost $500 there. So but you'll find over time it's probably evens out fairly well. But what it means is that instead of the system getting you out on the old system, you would get taken out. Not exactly when price broke the trailing stop. It would, particularly if it broke it by more than your quickly broke it by more than your trail. So it wasn't working as well as it should have been. And mainly because when you lose, say for example you're in a long trade and you've got those green dots following up the trailing stop, as soon as you lost those green dots and they went red, then the trailing stop would stop working. So what we found was that it actually still provided you really good results. Now with the new trailing stop, it works exactly how it should. So if price breaks your stop, you'll get taken out immediately on the trail. And you can see there that's had a really good couple of months, so that's been working well. Now what's interesting is that these new strategies that Giovanni sent through are really flying along. So the Russell there now's been being tracked live for a couple of weeks now, and the last probably 3 weeks, 4 weeks have been fantastic. You can see there that in the last 4 weeks it's produced $4,333, so that's sensational. So on a 10k account, you've almost got an 80% profit there over the last couple of months. So that's fantastic for the Russell. Now you'll see that the lower drawdown one, which basically is running with obviously a lower drawdown, isn't trading as frequently but still performing well, 1490. The other standout one to me is the coffee 55 tick. Now there's a couple of new workspaces that I've had come through that I'm going to load up. So obviously there's an 89 tick there from Brett, and I don't know if Brett's in the room at the moment. I don't think he is, but he sent me through a coffee one today which I'll load up. 89 tick, he's done some work on that and it looks really good. Doesn't trade as much obviously. Remember how last week we spoke about we wanted to have strategies that were revenue strategies and that will grow strategies. Why is it important to have a revenue strategy and a growth strategy, do you think? What's the benefit to revenue and growth? Does anybody want to answer that one? Why we would consider having a revenue plus a growth strategy? Yeah, so a lot of the accounts we've got when I say a growth strategy, they'll have a good reward to risk, but and what will happen is typically with a great reward to risk, what you've got is a lower win rate. So what will happen is you'll have 3 or 4 losers, 5 losers, 6 losers, bang, then you'll get a really good winner. That'll kick your account along. Then you start to slowly dip down again, then another winner. Whereas if you've got a revenue strategy that's got more of a 1-to-1 or better, that's turning over more frequently, what's it doing? It's actually helping you sustain the build-up during those potential break-evens or losing periods. So it'll give you that exponential growth. Exactly, Sean. So that's what you want. It's going to build your account a lot faster. So when you're looking at your systems and saying, right, well, look, I've started with crude. So I've started with crude system number. A lot of people start with crude. This crude system here, number 3. What is the next strategy I want to put into my system once I get a rate of increase? So if my delta is 1,000 or 1,500 or whatever your delta is, what is my next system to add to this? And really what you're wanting to do is you're wanting a system that's giving you that good turnover. So if you look at these strategies here, obviously you can see that the Russell, trading more frequently, giving you a lot more revenue, and that's going to build your account up. And if you combine that with a system like the coffee, which has got a lower win rate, around 35-40%, doesn't trade as much. It does have big weeks though, like it'll have some really, really good weeks, but it does tend to have consecutive losers as well, consecutive losing weeks, and then it'll get a bit of a hurry on. So just looking at the grid here, you definitely want to be able to combine systems that are going to, like we said before, smooth out your drawdown and increase your net profit. And you can see that as you start layering these systems in, that's exactly what happens. You start to get that build up, and you can see that crude oil system number 70 doing really well. Now this is another one from Giovanni, so you've done some good work, Giovanni, there. System number 70, that's spitting out 6675, so flying along, beautifully done. And so I've got a few loaded up there, but I've actually got probably another 3 or 4 to add, maybe 5 to add to this list. So I've got an 89 tick, another 89 tick from Giovanni on crude. I've got a Brett sent through an 89 on coffee, and I've got a couple of other strategies there that I'm going to add. And also wheat here is flying along nicely. So you can see there, wheat had a good week last week at 962 after a slight loser at 125. So that's kicking along. And the big one that we haven't spoken about yet is this DAX system number 75 on the euro. So you can see there. Now the great thing about the cycle trader, now remembering that most of these systems are trend trading systems. However, the DAX cycle trader is actually a cycle trading strategy. So it's obviously ideal for when the market's choppy and range bound. And the interesting thing is that during the 5th of August, the week of the 5th of August, every single system basically on the trend went fairly poorly, except for the 9 o'clock, that 9 to 9:10, and that's pretty solid. That doesn't typically have too many bad weeks. And what we found was that the only things that did really well during that week were that breakout type trend trading 9 to 9:10 on crude, and also this cycle trader on the DAX. So if we can add in a couple more cycle trader strategies, which we're working on, you see that the balance is just fantastic. So what was previously, if you remember our look at these stats last week, what was previously a very poor week, which was one of the poorest weeks we had, down I think it was about $1,400, adding the, or a little bit more actually, a little bit less, sorry, adding the cycle trader in there at 12.13 actually kicked it along beautifully. So what I'll do is I'll have a look at a couple of other cycle trading strategies using the same concept we've done with the DAX. So looking at the DAX, picking, just go through this detail. I don't mind you writing stuff in there, but I'll definitely answer those questions towards the end, just so I don't break my train of thought, that's all. So basically, the key here is that we want to put in as many of these cycle trading strategies as we can, because that balance is really good. But obviously too, you've got to pick the market and obviously be watching the volatility as well, because the DAX is one for getting periods of low volatility, and low volatility ideally, or lower volatility, is where we want to be when we're tracking some of these strategies. Now, what I'm going to do on Wednesday, I'm going to take you through a bit more of the Forex, but I'm also going to start introducing you to David's on crude, which is the volatility analysis, which I'm doing some work on the DAX. And I know, Jim, you're in the room tonight. Jim's done a fair bit of work on the DAX volatility. So it's interesting because we've looked at Jim's stuff, and David's kind of taken it on board, and he's put together a really interesting look at using volatility with these future systems. So creating systems that trade through different periods of volatility. We've spoken about it before in the room anyway, but he has different, like low volatility, rising volatility, falling volatility. He has different settings for those particular periods. Now, the other thing we're going to be doing next week is on next Wednesday, we're going to be running a presentation on optimization and how you can use that the walk forward optimization to really get a great edge in your trading as well. So I'm going to be taking you through that too. So some interesting stuff coming up. So that's a look at the futures now, and then getting the strategy up and running. And then once you've got it up and running and you've tested it, then just tracking it and monitoring it and keeping on top of it. And that's what we've really been concentrating on, the trend trader and the cycle. We've also got the reversal running on a lot of the Forex systems. I've created a couple on the futures, which I'm going to be showing you on Wednesday. So it's just a matter of once you get them up and running, just maintaining the system, and you'll see that from the process we go through, and from developing a pilot system all the way through to having a high performance system. But the key is, when you get a system up and going, you've got to really keep tracking it, because as soon as you start to basically not track your system and not monitor it, not manage its performance, then it gets to a point where the market conditions change and the system really isn't suitable for the market. So you've got to really be all over the system. And these better systems either work all the time, so that 9 to 910 just seems to be working all the time, or they just require, like anything, a bit of maintenance, a bit of adjustment, and then they just continue to work. So if you're prepared to put the time in and adjust the systems, then they'll continue to work. But they won't always work based on, obviously based on the conditions of the market. There'll be times when you either have to turn it off or you reduce the number of days you're trading. But that coffee now has been trading for a long time through different market conditions, so that's been running well. So it gets to a point where you've got these standard settings that'll work most of the time, and then you'll just introduce kind of different days of the week, or take off different days of the week based on the market conditions. So guys, that's the a wrap up for the futures there. So we've got, as I said, 10 there. Now what I want to do now is I want to take you back into the this server, and I'm going to just load up Tradestation here. And what we're going to do is we are going to have a look at this system number 47. So I actually did mention a little while ago that a lot of these Forex systems, they basically run 24/7, and sometimes you'll just run the strategy and it'll run basically all the time. So let me just clear some of this so we've got a little bit more to look at here. So what we've got is we've got system number 47, and I'm gonna use the cycle trade example today, because what I want to do is show exactly why it's important to spend a bit of time going through your system and basically tracking the days of the week analysis. Now on this system, I've got, if I run this system as an all days system, basically there are certain days of the week that are just not profitable. So what I've done is I've started to look at this strategy, and I've said, right, well, by tracking this with all days, I know that there are, even though the system is profitable, there are certain days that have really never been profitable, and this is the Euro US dollar. So what I've done is I've actually gone in and I've said, okay, well, I'm going to break it down so I'm only trading certain days of the week on the cycle trader. Now, what it's come out as is that it seems that Monday, Tuesday on the cycle trader, and we'll go into the strategy format strategy. It seems that we'll go in here. On Monday, it seems to be a day where you can trade both long and short on the cycle. It's running really well. But when I break down the analysis of the system and I go into the long side of the market, there's basically on the euro at the moment, based on the current market conditions, there is no profit coming on the long side of the market whatsoever. So I've gone through and I've analysed Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and there's been no profit at all, or nothing worth turning on the long side. However, on the short side, basically, if I take just the shorts on the cycle trader, Sunday, Thursday and Friday are very profitable. So by just going through and doing that basic analysis from my strategy performance report, I found that cycle only, I was able to produce around about $10,000 on the cycle only, and my average trade net profit is about $117. So it's not taking a huge number of trades, obviously, because you're only trading certain days of the week. But what I found was that the days in between, so that's Tuesday, Wednesday, those 2 days are typically more volatile days on the euro, and they're not conducive to running the cycle trader on the euro US dollar. So they don't seem to be paying any, they're not, once I break down the numbers on this 10 brick Renko. Now obviously if I use a different brick size, I'm going to get different results, but based on my analysis on the 10 brick Renko, I'm better off running this particular system at the moment based on the analysis I've done for those days of the week. And what it's done is it's given me, it's not a huge percentage win rate. I've got 58% on the long side on the day I'm trading, which is the Monday, 32% or 32% on the short side. But it's the big thing here is that the average trade net profit. The average trade net profit for me is $117, whereas my average win is $500, my average loss is $114. So I've got plenty of excess in this system to be able to run the strategy and run it well. I've got the brokerage component built into this as well, so you can see the brokerage and commissions are built in there, and it's still flying along, so it's doing beautifully. So when you are looking at your Forex system, now you may do the times of the day analysis. You might break it down and say, right, well, I'm going to basically go in and I'm going to test the strategy up based on what I know on the Euro US dollar. I'm going to look at mainly starting at, say, from 1 o'clock, for example. I mean, I've got this running 24/7. But if you're looking for movement, you may want to even start at 12, 1 o'clock exchange time, and then run it for the rest of the day. When you are doing this analysis, you definitely want to have a look at time of the day and day of the week, particularly on the euro. So what I did was I took that euro information and then I started to, now this is only going back 3 months. So what I decided, right, well, if I've got, surely there's a little bit of profit to be made by combining the trend and the cycle together. So what I found there was that if I added the trend in on those days that I'm not trading the cycle, now I've got it on a 10 brick Renko. So what I probably do in retrospect is I need to bring this down to a lower brick size, don't I? Because I'm looking to pick up more dynamic moves. So if I know that on a higher brick setting, I'm running the cycle trader and it's working well for me, It's not taking a huge number of trades, but at the end of the day, I don't really care about that. I'm going for that average trade net profit because I know if I want turnover, then I just knock the brick size down a little bit. But I also know that I've got a clue here in that those days of the week, which are basically these days here, Tuesday, Wednesday, I should really be focusing in on these Tuesday, Wednesday and really getting in. And what I might even do, and we'll go through this on Wednesday, I'm going to look at Charles' system, System 16. I'll load that up and I'll see how Charles' system, I'll basically break down the days of the week and see how that's running, because that's a 5 brick Renko on Tuesday, Wednesday. So then I can, basically what I then can do is I can say, right, well, I'm running the cycle trader every day except for Tuesday, Wednesday, because I know that's the most volatile period on the Euro US dollar. I'm going to kick in the 5 brick Renko on those days because I know it's going to have good movement. If I bring the brick size, and remember too, I don't have to just stay with the 5 brick Renko. I can test the 5, 6, 7 all the way up to, I don't need to test 10 because I've already done that. But basically all I'm looking to do is I'm looking to get that over that 3-month period. I'm looking to get that, say, from 10,000 up to 15, if I can, up to 20k. So if I can put two systems together that are possibly trading, because remember, it doesn't matter what I'm pretty sure that it doesn't matter what your, and I'll validate this when we do the Dukascopy testing, but you can't trade the Euro US dollar on the same, you can't trade the Euro US dollar two strategies on the same system, on the same account. The only way to be able to do it is to have separate accounts, because obviously they'll cancel each other out, and Jan experienced that last week. So if you're going to combine systems together, you either need to have two separate accounts, and you can do this with Tradestation in the futures market. You can set up a master account and have two slave accounts. So the master account controls the margin, and the two or three slave accounts, they allow you to go long and short in that market. Now, unfortunately, Australian clients can't use Tradestation to trade the Forex. However, we've built a bridge around that, so we can now, thanks to Mike, we can now use Tradestation to trade any currency pair we want, and trade any through any broker we want that has MT4. So this Tradestation sends its trading signals to MT4 that it get executed through the bridge. Now, still the issue there is that if you would need to have two accounts running to be able to trade, say, the Euro US dollar and the cycle trader at the same time. So that's what you've got to kind of think about as well. So what I've done here is I've thought, well, rather than set up two separate accounts, what if I just look at the cycle trader and say, right, I know the cycle trader's best days are, Monday, Thursday, Friday. I know the trends are Tuesday, Thursday. I'll just combine the two systems, run one for 2 days, one for 3 days. Then I don't have to worry about, a system stopping out. But ideally what you want, based on the work that we've done and how the systems work, really what you want is you want the cycle, the trend, and the reversal, or the cycle, trend, pullback, or the cycle, the trend, the momentum. Whatever combination you want 3, 4, 5 strategies running where you can, no matter what happens with the market conditions, you're going to be able to take advantage of that. So it's just facilitating that from an electronic order execution point of view. So for those of you who are trading the bridge, obviously this week, and there's a couple that are already going to be looking at kind of setting up the bridge setup. It's going to be in beta test this week just to make sure it's all running well, and then obviously we'll get other people to use it if that's what they want to do. But just getting back to this point here, so if you are tracking a strategy and similar to this US dollar 58, which is the one that Brett set up, if you are trading a system, and this is basically been flying, as you can see here. This period here, like we mentioned last week, this was a period of rising volatility. So what do you think would have been working really well during this rising volatility? If we know that Now this, incredibly, this, and if we just go back to, this has got a $98 average trade net profit. So if we go into our strategy, this thing is trading really with nothing. It's got the trend loaded up there, but it's not really, it hasn't had any customization done to it all. So what I'm going to do on Wednesday is I'm going to bring this system back, and I'm going to see where we can basically, what we could potentially improve on this strategy, because I've done no days of the week analysis. And also I'm going to look at, right, well, if there is a bad day of the week on this thing, is that a day that we can potentially have the trend trader running? If there is a period of higher volatility, can we step the trend trader in on a 5 brick or a 6 brick and take advantage of that during that period? So that there's some of the things you're wanting to do when you're looking at your systems. You're saying, right, well, look, I'm not just going to. I want a little bit of a plan for when when we have that volatility shift. You can get away with just trading it. Like theoretically, if you just run the system, the forex is robust enough for you to run it. But you really don't want to get a period where if you can avoid it, and if you've got the skill base, you're not going to want to see almost a 5k drop, are you? You're not going to want to go through a 5k drawdown. It doesn't matter if you're trading, because really at the end of the day, even if you do cover that 5k drop with, say, 6 or 7k worth of profit in other markets, based on improved volatility, that's still money that you're leaving on the table or giving back to the market. So as pro traders, what would we do in this situation if we see one of our systems, and we're tracking them, start to go into a fairly good drawdown here? What's our process for managing that drawdown? What's the one thing that we're going to immediately do? And everybody here should be able to answer this question, because everybody should have their R break. And we switch the system off. Everyone's got a system circuit breaker. So the great thing about running these systems is that before you even turn it on what your circuit breaker is. You know exactly when you're going to turn that system off. So as soon as that system turns off, why then wouldn't you go to your list of systems that you've got and pull the next best system up? I mean, if you're trading 3 strategies on LMAX or multi charts, or on through Tradestation or an MT4 platform, why aren't you then not going to go and pick the next best system that's running well? It's crazy not to, because you've got a library of systems there. You've got settings there that are available to you. So you would just, it's a very powerful thing. Normally in a situation like this, you've got one system. If it starts to lose money, what are you going to do? Then you've got to go back and you've got to, test the market up. It takes time and energy, and then you're missing out on opportunities. Here, we just, as a group, because we're working together as a group, we just say, right, well, what's the next best system? What system can I tap into next to get the kick along that I need? And the fantastic thing is that if you're managing your portfolio well enough, and you've got 3 or 4 systems running along, you should really never have a system circuit breaker on your portfolio, should you? Because you're trading the best strategies and you're just weeding out the ones that aren't performing well enough. So this thing's definitely bounced back. It's on its way back. It's doing really well. But as I said before, if you cut out here at, say, $1,500 circuit breaker, then you've missed that rather ugly drawdown there. You've got back in maybe here at a point, and then you're taking advantage of the lower volatility in this great market that is the US dollar Swiss, and it just seems to tick along beautifully. So the same thing happened with system number 27. Exactly the same thing happened. So you've definitely got to be cognizant of the fact that these things will happen to your systems, and just be ready to move with it. So for those of you who are running your systems at the moment and you're doing your testing, I would definitely go into your forex strategies and futures and make sure that you have not missed anything, because it may not sound a massive deal, but if you can pull out a day, and the reason why I say that is I looked at system number 47, and this was the first one, one of the first ones on the cycle trader I started with, and it had it had two really bad days. I think it was Wednesday was one of them, where the cycle trader made no money at all over 6 months. Not $1 was profitable, like it wasn't profitable at all in that whole period. Rest of the days were great. Wednesday was terrible. So, if just by the fact that we've collected the days of the week and we've just assumed that the system's profitable, we can definitely get much better results if we just do that second level of testing. So I would encourage you all to do that. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the platform number 9.1. So and I'm going to just give you a bit of a run through of the DAX here. So I'll do that now, and let me just drop this down here for a second. So guys, I'm just going to close out of this, and I'll just close this down. Okay, so actually what I'll do is, just while I'm doing this, have we got any questions at all? Anything you want me to cover off on? One of the things I'll just talk about while I'm kind of doing this is that, as I mentioned, the bridge will be set up. Well, the bridge is being set up, or has been set up. And for those of you who are wanting to take advantage of that, you just need to send me an email, so shane@gmtfutures.com, and we can organise that for a trial for you. Now, as I mentioned before, you can plug that bridge into any broker you want. So no longer do you need to worry about trying to set up a brokerage with someone else, or like with a specific broker that has multi-charts or Tradestation. So you can pretty much go with any broker you want, which is fantastic. However, you've just got to make sure that you do that initial testing for the bridge and make sure that the orders are being executed correctly, etc., etc. A moving average to turn your system on and off. That's another method you can use, and I know Brett's tried that on the portfolio manager. He's used a moving average as a way of turning the system on and off. There's a number of ways you can manage your systems, and really at the end of the day, all you've got to do is just make sure that you've got a mechanism for turning them off, because the last thing you want is basically your system running and you're just continuing to trade the strategy, and okay, so we'll just switch this over. You're continuing to trade the strategy and you haven't got a circuit breaker in place. So it doesn't really matter what your circuit breaker is. I would definitely test up any moving average circuit breaker, the R-break circuit breaker, a max drawdown circuit breaker. So I would test a number of ways to do it, and we do go through that on the money management. So the thing is with your turning your system off is, it's not just turning your system off, but you've also got to allow for turning the system back on too, because as we've seen in a number of examples, and I think Steph was doing it with his stuff on soybeans, if you don't monitor that system, you can miss some really good profitable trades. And if you are tracking it, if you are watching those systems, then it's a really good way to pick up when the system is really starting to kick along. Because when systems start to move along nicely, okay, I'll have to open it up on my platform. When systems start to move along nicely and get a bit of a bounce, that's an opportunity for you to take a lot of profit you may not have seen previously. So it's very, very important to keep tracking your strategy. And when I say a bounce, what I mean by that is, if you see your system, say for example, has a $1,500 drawdown, and you're prepared to get back into that system if it, say for example, recovers $800 of that $1,500 drawdown, well then what you're potentially doing, instead of waiting for it to get back to break even or make new equity highs for you then to say, right, well, now I'm prepared to trade it. You're getting in when it's bouncing, and potentially it's when a system can potentially really offer up some really good profits. So they typically will, as we've said before many a time, they typically will bounce at times, and you'll see, you might turn a system off for 2 or 3 months, and the volatility or the market conditions have changed, and then you'll be randomly looking at charts, and you'll open something up that you haven't had on for a while, and you'll see that it's made $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 of profit from a massive drawdown. Well, we saw that on the DAX. If you go through the members side and have a look at one of the old presentations on there about system volatility, you'll see there that we've had examples where the DAX has been turned off and it's made a $7,000, $8,000 or I think there was a €16,000 profit from bouncing. So it definitely pays to be tracking your systems and making sure that you're all over that. So guys, I'm just going to show you a strategy that Giovanni sent me through today, and this is on, now if you remember a couple of weeks ago we actually did a little bit of work on the DAX, and I presented the DAX system to the group, and we spoke about basically not going to be able to open that. Okay, we're going to have to do that another time. Alright guys, so just having a little bit of trouble opening 9.1 up on this machine, so my apologies there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to basically cover off a couple of things on the site, and then I'm going to just take some general questions. But yeah, one of the things I wanted to just cover off on was that, as I mentioned before, if you do get a system or a coding issue or something that you're not sure about, definitely go into the members site and jump in and have a look at the protocol for registering your error message, and then Mike and I can Mike can jump in and have a look at the system and make sure that whatever's happened is resolved from our end, and then we'll kind of send that information back to you with the appropriate fix. And we've done that with a few of the fixes. Now, the one other thing I wanted to speak about today was the end of day exit. So for those of you who are running an end of day exit, you're definitely going to want to just have a look at what time of the day your market finishes. So to do that, you just go into format symbol and right click on your chart. I'll bring up this 9 version here and I'll show it to you in that one. So let me do that, because a couple of the markets that we're trading at the moment, sort the end of day exit out, all you need to do is go into format symbol, and you need to basically work out go into properties, and you'll need to work out when does your regular session end. So you just click on that regular session button and it'll give you the time the session ends, 4:59. So it'll tell you exactly what time of the day this session closes and for how long. So there's an end of day close for 10 minutes that the brokers use on the Forex market. So if we go into a futures market, for example, if we load up here coffee, which we'll do now, you'll see the same thing on coffee. So what you're wanting to do, if you're running an end of day exit, then I'll send you out shortly the details for how to basically reset your session time. So when your end of day exit runs or goes through to your platform, it's basically taking you about 5 minutes before the end of the market. So all you do is you change your session time 5 minutes before the session finishes, and then the strategy takes the end of day exit, sends the order through, and then it closes that out. So nice and easy. So for those of you who are trading coffee, we'll do that as an example. We'll open coffee up, and let me just open that up. So we'll go to our desktop, we'll grab our futures folder, and we'll get coffee up. So you would set the end of day exit on coffee for five minutes earlier, and then once you load up the end of day exit on coffee, you can set it. It'll send an order thinking that it's the end of the day, obviously, based on the session time. So you can see here that we've got I'll just go in here. Here's the end of day exit order. So for those of you who haven't seen an end of day exit order, it's basically, just go to the top of this, stops and targets. So if you click on that, and if I go into the stops and targets, see how you just set your position to 1, and our profit amount is going to be 0 because we're not wanting to take any profit during the session, only our strategy to take us out. So this is more for if you've got a system or your strategy where you're running a fairly strong or fairly big trailing stop. So for example, if your coffee trade or your wheat trade or crude or whatever market it is tends to run towards the end of the session, particularly if it's a small session time, like you've only got a couple of hours or an hour or half an hour or whatever it is before you get out of the market, then and you decide, right, well, I don't really want to close, or I don't want to hold the trade overnight, I want to get out at the end of the session. What this does is this basically sends a market order, exit on close. So, but it bases this information. So if we go exit on close, okay, it'll base this information on your session time. So if you go back to your session time, whatever your session time in the market, it'll send it right on the close of that session. So what you need to do then is go into your session time, go format, and you know the regular session closes at 2 o'clock, 2 p.m. on coffee. Well, if it closes at 2, we need to adjust that, customize that session time so it shuts it, we set it to 1:55. So then what will happen is the strategy will know that end of time is at 1:55. It'll be alerted to the fact that that's the session end time, and we send the order. Now the same thing we can do with the forex market. So I'm going to get Mike to give you the breakdown of how to do it on the forex market. So basically we're looking at Friday. So we go down to Friday, we pick our session time, we customize we'll put this, or he's got this stuff in a Word document step by step. So basically you're going into session time on Friday, you're changing the session time on the forex market to be obviously the end of the US session. So you don't want to be holding overnight. If Friday is the day that you don't want to hold the position overnight, then you just change it 5 minutes before the end of the session. Or if you really want to be safe about it, you can make it 10. And the best way to do it too is to load this up and watch it in real time. So you can test this out in real time. So you just edit that. You'll hit the custom button here, and you'll be able to customize that and basically modify the time. So you can modify the time that it actually takes you out. So guys, that's pretty much what I wanted to cover today. Nothing really else. So I wanted to show you the DAX, but I'll have to do that on Wednesday. So I'll start with platform 9.1 and go backwards. But for those of you who want to have a look at the DAX strategy, if it's alright with Giovanni, I'll upload that and you can kind of download that and have a look at that. But it is in platform 9.1. Now you can, as you can see on that server I've got, you can actually download the platform. If you go into the server here, you can download the platform and have 9.1 running on your machine. What it'll do is, if I want to convert over to say 9, it'll just ask me to close down 9.1, and then it'll reconfigure 9 so I can load that up. So you can switch between the two. That's an option you've got as well. So guys, any questions before I go? That's pretty much it for me tonight. As I said, those settings on crude, you've got the just double check your settings for the trend trader. So you've either got the trend trader set up, and I'll just show you quickly what I mean by that. So if we go into format strategies, you've either got the trend trader set up as here it is here, true and true, or true and false. Now, if it's set up true and true, that means that you've got the new TP trail. If you've got it set up at true and false, then you've got the old system. So you saw from our results on the performance there on Tradestation that the better results were coming from the new TP. So that was running much better. So that's just one thing to think about as well. So if you're going to make a change, I would definitely test it up and see which one you're happy with. But as I said before, surprisingly, the new trailing stop is actually outperforming the older one, so that's good. And that's about it for me. As I said, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot us an email. Any questions now? I'm going to hang around for another 5 or 10 minutes. I can answer questions. So as regards to the MT4 bridge, this is from Andrew. Do you also need to set up Tradestation account, or can you purchase the Tradestation platform? I don't know if you can purchase a Tradestation platform, Andrew, but you can certainly open an account with Tradestation and trade through them. There's two options with the Tradestation. You can either have a subscription account or a brokerage account. If you have a brokerage account, you get what's $100 a month for Tradestation. So if you basically you've got to do 10 lots a month, to basically get the platform free, and then you've just got to pay your data fee on top of that. So you can get the Tradestation platform free, but if you're wanting to use it just for the sole purpose of trading currencies, then it's about $250 a month to pay for it just for the currencies. So it depends on what you want to do. You also, I mean, the thing is though that you've got multi-charts is doing the same thing. So you've got multi-charts direct. Now we'll have the Dukascopy stuff set up tonight. So that's going ahead as per my previous conversation. So that'll be another broker that will have access to Dukascopy through multi-charts. And obviously you can link up IB with multi-charts as well. So you've got a lot of options as far as who you want to trade with, which platform you want to use. There's a multitude of options. You've just got to, ideally when you first start out, you want to keep your running costs fairly low. But once you start to build your account up, obviously, then you can explore. You can start to really branch out with your platforms and your execution, because it's automated, and the goal is to get, as we know, multiple systems running, and if they're providing slightly different performance results, then that's going to be an advantage, isn't it? Basically, we're using that standard volatility stochastic, which is here on the daily chart, Sean. So this is a fairly objective way of measuring volatility, just a standard volatility stochastic. It's available in Tradestation. So it'll track, now this is obviously a lagging indicator, but it tracks volatility, and it does a really good job, particularly on some of the futures markets, of just monitoring your volatility based on based on certain levels of low, medium and high volatility. You've got rising and falling volatility. So this has worked really well with the DAX and the coffee. They're the main markets we've kind of tested this on. Haven't done a huge amount of testing on it on crude, but it just works really well on the currencies too. The US dollar Swiss is using this well. Once volatility gets above a certain point, the cycle trader doesn't tend to work as well. So definitely a good little objective indicator for tracking your volatility. Brick sizes on Renko, so your brick sizes on the Renko, they're basically, you decide what type of brick size you got. So if you go format symbol, you can go into your settings and you can set your own brick size up. So I've got a 10 brick Renko there. I could, say for example, go into I could go in here and make this a 5 brick Renko, so 5 pips. I can make it 10 pips. I can make it 15. So I can really decide on which brick size I want. What we've found with our testing is that if you put in a 5 brick Renko or less, you get the smaller your brick size, the more volatile, or the not more volatile, but the more trades you're going to get. So you're really not going to want to run a, say, a 2 brick Renko because it's way too quick and it's too many trades. So you've got to balance out, because really remember that at the end of the day, every time you place a trade on, that's a cost to trade, as you know. So what you're wanting to do is you're wanting to make sure that every time you go into the market, there's a very, very good opportunity for you going into the market and trading and having a higher probability of not so much winning, but a good net profit on your trade. So if we go in with a lower brick size, we're trading frequently, we've got, obviously cost to trade, slippage commission. So what we find is that if you just push the brick size up between 5 and 10 is really ideal for the Forex market. The futures you can run a 3 and above, but I would say for the Forex, probably no less than 5, because it's starting to get 5 pips starting to get a little bit too frequent trading. So guys, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to quickly load this, if I can, load this momentum strategy up, and I just want to show you how that runs. I'll just quickly load this one up. So let me just quickly grab this. This will take a couple of seconds to load up. I'll just spend a couple of minutes going through this momentum strategy. I just had a bit of a momentary lapse there. I did say that I was going to cover off on that tonight, so I'll just quickly do that now for those of you who are left. And this is there. We've got actually 3 new systems that we're going to be releasing in the next week or so. One is a bounce system, which I covered off last week. The other one is the momentum strategy. They still use this dynamic support resistance, but we've got a couple of other filters that we're using just to increase the probability of the trades and also get bigger trending setups. So the concept behind this momentum system, once it fires off, here we go. So the concept here is that, okay, let's go through it once this stops thinking, is that we're only taking trades when there is absolutely a momentum move in the market. So we're using dynamic support and resistance. They're the cornerstone to our strategies. So what we need to see is we've got these 2 linear regression channels here, and what we're looking for is to only go short when we've got the linear regression channels in our favour, and we're only going long when we've got the linear regression channels supporting our trade. So let's just move through this example here. So for example, I've got these set on and I've got the MACD / Bollinger Band combination here below. So we're using the concept of higher time frame, lower time frame on both the MACD and the Bollinger Bands, and also the linear regression channel. So the key to this whole strategy is that we only want to be trading when we get our momentum set up, and momentum being similar to what we've got with the trend trader. But the idea behind this is that this system is designed to be always on, so it basically never turns off, and it only takes trades when there is absolute, you've got the energy of the market with you, and the energy is basically validated by the Bollinger Band / MACD, this combination here, and also our linear regression lines. And we've found that this combination of 3 is from all the indicators we've kind of looked at and tested. We're going to probably do a little bit more work on volume as well, but at this stage this is really showing up some nice results, and looks really good, and very, very simple too. Remembering too that like my theory is simple's always best, but sometimes you have to have a couple of additional things in there just to clean out some of the lower probability setup. So typically what we've had with the trend trader is we get some good results because we've got a high reward to risk. But ideally what we want to do is we want to push that profitability up a little bit too, the actual win rate up a fraction as well, because if we can get the two running well, then we're in a good position. So what this does is it basically only takes trades where there's energy and momentum in the market. That's why it's called the momentum index, the momentum system. So it's the V2 momentum. We're only taking trades now. We're using support and resistance, dynamic support resistance. So we will only take a trade when support is broken. Resistance is broken or support is broken. But similar to the trend trader, we're not going to take trades that don't break properly. So this is not a setup. See how there's the probing candle down, doesn't break. So we have to see two full closes above. Now it seems weird, but if you close two full candles or bricks below the support or above resistance, that typically is the catalyst for a potential move. Now what we need to do also is see that our Bollinger Bands are green here and our lower time frame is green as well. Now this is really important for our setups. So you'll see that we've got price breaks out, pushes above, and what we're doing is we're using the same concept here as well as we're using the pyramiding concept. So remember we spoke about the pyramiding concept with the reversal? Well, we're doing this with the momentum trade as well. We're going to be jumping in and pyramiding into these trades as well. So that'll be one of the features that similar to what you've got on the reversal, but that'll be a plug-in on this as well. So every time there is a pullback and price has not exceeded these linear regression lines, you can add to a position on these trades. So this is an opportunity for you to... Now you can designate whether you take the additional contracts based on the initial move. So if this initial move hasn't gone to a break-even point, you're not going to add a contract, are you? Because you're adding risk to your trade. The idea with a momentum move is that you only add risk when there's no risk in the trade. So you don't want to basically increase your position size risk. You want to capitalize on it when there's zero risk in the trade. And then again we get a secondary. So you can see here what it's doing is, what it interestingly does is it allows us to position into trades that are moving well, and it keeps us out of choppier markets because you won't be taking trades against this longer term kind of sweeping. So we would normally, if we were trading, and obviously we don't because we don't have the trend trader turned on 24/7 on the Eurobond. It only trades certain times of the day. But we would, if it was on 24/7, it would have taken that trade as a loser. And it potentially may have taken these trades here, but could have got stopped out, couldn't it? Because it's going in on a trend trade long. Whereas if you look at the phase of the market we're in, we've gone from a bit of a downtrend, and then we've crossed into a long setup. And this long setup, this momentum long, is being supported by obviously our Bollinger Band / MACD, and we've got the breakout there. We've also got a break of our resistance, which is key to the whole strategy. So if we don't get that, we haven't got a trade, because that's telling us what's happening with the phase of the market. So then we start pyramiding into these trades. We've got 1, 2. Again, you'll need to determine what level. You might not take this trade because there might not be enough profit in that previous setup. But there you've got a setup there. So this is obviously a great trade, obviously, because it's just running well. Then this trade isn't taken. Then we get across. So at this point here, we're looking for a short setup on the and we're at the end of the session. So we're done. So basically that would keep us. That would be it for today. Now, what we're going to want to do is you're probably going to want to do, and I'm going to have a look at this strategy here because this is trading from, this one took an early loser today, and I'm going to just have a little bit more of a look at this one because you may want to, similar to the DAX, you may want to push this start date back, although it will change the overall result, so I'll have a little bit of a play with that tomorrow. But you can see here we're looking for a short. There's the first short setup. Now the first short setup doesn't break resistance, does it? So This is something where that support resistance option we've got in the system. So if we go to our system here, go to format strategies, you see how we've got this here. So now, everybody in the room, or not everyone, but most of you have been testing support resistance. Now this is where this support resistance is going to be fantastic with this strategy, because it's going to be used as an initial stop, but also as a trailing stop. And I think that more than anything in this strategy, it's going to work really well. And I'm going to back that statement up by obviously testing it, because that's what we do. We test all our statements we make, and we have an objective assessment of it. So we'll be doing that. But you can see here, it holds its line here. Previous high, makes a lower high there. Resistance shuts it off, and then you've got the so we're looking for shorts here. There's the secondary short. Now the two ways to get into a trade on the momentum trade is we need to see the linear regression channels need to be either they need to have crossed lower, or they need to be squeezing, or they need to be on the squeeze. So if they're squeezing, then you've got a contraction and you can take a potential trade. Now you'll be able to test on this, so you'll be able to say, right, well, do I use a squeeze strategy or do I use the cross? Now the other thing is too, you cannot take a short or a long setup unless your higher time frame MACD is actually inside of those Bollinger Bands. If it's outside, then there's no trade there, because they are low probability setups. That's usually just a recipe for a pullback, and you'll get wiped out on those ones. So, and you need to have your higher time frame MACD / Bollinger Band printing the red dots to show that you've got momentum. The other thing is too, remember the work we did on the MACD. If you're crossing the zero line, so that blue center line there is the zero line. When you start to cross the zero line, you've got what have you got? You've got downward momentum. So you've got that energy. So the MACD is really good at showing you obviously divergence. It's also good at showing where there's negative momentum. So that's what we've got there, and you can see this trade runs beautifully. So had we have had the momentum system running the last 2 days on the 144 tick, it would have produced a monster long setup. I mean, obviously there's a really good long setup anyway. You know, there has been good movement on the long side, but it's produced a very, very nice short setup there as well. Now, I have been having a look at this on the currencies as well. So I'm just playing around with a couple of the currencies too, just to see how it's running, and it looks pretty good on that as well. Just need to smooth things out a little bit and look at what will be the best tick settings or Renko bricks to use on the currency market. But it looks solid there too. So guys, that was my quick look at the momentum. I'm going to take you through basically on Wednesday a couple of currency charts, and we'll look at the momentum system on the currency charts. We should have this out for people to have a look at either at the end of this week or early next week. So we'll let you know how that goes. But any questions on that? Any questions? As I said, it's an always on strategy, so it doesn't need to be, restricted to necessarily to time of the day, although there might be times when you block out the trades that it's going to take, but really it's looking for a momentum breakout. So it's a nice simple system. I wouldn't worry about too many indicators on the chart, because you don't need to worry about that as trying to identify a setup. It's just understanding how the system works and then applying it to your overall portfolio. So it'll definitely keep you out of these choppier markets, but at the end of the day, that's where the cycle trader comes into play anyway. When we get these choppier setups, the cycle trader does a great job. As you can see here, it won't take trades unless it actually breaks. See this short here, it won't take these long setups because that's against the general trend of the market. So it does a good job of kind of filtering those out. So guys, any questions before I wrap it up? Seems to be working beautifully on the 144 too. So for those of you who are trading the trend, adding that one to it will be a nice little addition. So I'm looking forward to kind of having a bit of a play with that myself. The DAX strategy that I wanted to show you tonight, but I'll make sure we go through that, and I'll just go through an example on the forex stuff too for the momentum trader. So cheers.